So here we have the K2 Recon. Now the Recon is your high performance downhill all mountain boot that's going to handle anything that you can throw at it skiing around the resort. Now it is one of K2's flagship boots, so it is available in a whole bunch of different options. Now in the men's models, there is a 90, 100, 110, 120, 130 and a Team Flex. And for the women's models, there is a 95, a 105 and a 115 Flex option. Now on top of this, it's also available in two different lasts. So there is a 98mm low volume last, and there's also a medium fitting 100mm last. Now this is something I still have to confirm. This one I'm showing you here is the BOA system. So this is one that's just featured on the medium volume boots as far as I know so far. But this review is also going to be valid for any of the other models in the Recon, so we can look at all of the features included in it to give it a great overview. But if you are interested specifically in this BOA system, I have done a recent video showing all the details on how this operates. So the Recon is probably one of my favorites in the category of just being an everyday and every terrain type boot. And one of the things that I think makes it so successful and what I love about it really is the last shape. So it is very well suited to that more westernized anatomical foot shape. So think North Americans and Australians' feet. It's quite square through the toe box. It's also quite straight down the medial side, and it just sits a lot of feet in really well as a starting foundation. Now on top of that, it is quite customizable. It is a fully heat moldable shell, so if you need to get some expansion, you can do it with a quick mold in the oven. Now the other main feature that they're touting in the construction of the Recon is the Power Light shell. Now it is not a heavy boot at all. It is quite lightweight, but it does generate quite a bit of power. So you can rip this boot no matter where you're going, whether you're skiing some groomers really hard and carving, or if you're smashing some pow through that varied snow and the bumps, the Recon can really eat it all up. Now this Power Light construction is, with that weight saving, it's different thickness of shell walls to give it the properties they're looking for flex-wise, and it's also several different injections. Now you can see in the lower shell there is 3 different colors of plastic, and that's representing 3 different densities of plastic, with the most power down through the sole, and then medium through the midfoot, and then a softer instep plastic just so it's a little bit easier to open your boot up and step in. Now the other key feature that we can talk about when we're looking at performance of this boot is on the back with the Power Fuse spine. Now you can see this spine built on the back. It is in a Y shape above and reversed below, and that meets at a point which they labeled the energy interlock. And that's where the boot is actually being held in position. It's keeping that forward lean, but it's also generating all that power down the back of the boot through to the sole, steering your skis. So it's where it keeps the boot's plastics a little bit lighter, but still generates all of your power down. And they're saying this energy interlock works just as well as if you had bolts in the back of your cuff, but there's no need for it with how they've integrated the cuff to the lower shell. And just referring back to that last shape I was talking on, I also want to point out at just how nicely it is pre-shaped in the shell at both the ankle pocket and at the navicular. So this is also something that's going to save a lot of custom boot work, as people will just settle into these pockets right away and feel quite comfortable. Now, if I'm to point out the last few features on the outside of the Recon, you do also have grip walk soles built into the bottom, and you also have some adjustable cuff alignment screws on each side of the cuff connection. Now, at the top of this boot, it is a regular standard power strap. You can get the 130 model with a cam buckle locking strap, but this one is fixed with some screw rivets. You'd need a small Allen key to be able to take this off if you want to replace it for an aftermarket option. Now let's dig in and have a quick look at the liners of this boot. So the liner, it is a very lightweight liner. A few things to really point out on this one. It's called their LuxFit Pro, and the reason it's pretty LuxFit is just how soft the foams are. It's built in with an Ultralon foam, which is really soft and squishy and warm. The other thing with this anatomical shape, they do carry this through into the liner. You can see with the neoprene toe box, the shape that's built in is very nice. You also have pre-shaped ankle pockets built into the back and a more dense material securing around your ankles. You have quite a solid plastic wrap around the lower leg. Now on the back of the liner, there is some Velcro if you wanted to add a spoiler. Also on this liner, you have a handle on the tongue and on the back to get some leverage to step in. And probably the best thing I think about this, you do have a plastic tongue. It's not a stiff plastic at all. But the best thing that they've done with this, and I've shown you on many other boots of having a window over the instep to where it's just foam and not plastic running over the top of the foot. Now this one in particular, it's not just a window. They've brought this down, split it either side, so it just runs down either forks away, so to speak, and keeps all that pressure off the top of the foot. So this is really an exceptional lightweight liner. I think K2's done a really good job with it. Now in the boot board, we are looking at a boot board which I'm not sure. It's not the most amazing thing in the world, but I guess it doesn't have to be. There's nothing really special to report. It is built with this honeycomb type construction, so I guess the focus there is also saving a lot of weight. It removes a lot of material by having honeycomb. The other thing that's sort of strange, which I think's odd, is on the back here you have this wedge which the boot board sits on. So this is what's attaining that ramp angle. There's no sort of shock absorbing properties to it at all. I guess you can attack and grind a little bit of this. This would also work as a pretty good reference, but it's just a plastic injected, quite ordinary boot board, and yeah, there's nothing really to report there as being special, but a pretty interesting way they piece it together. Now, stance angles on the Recon, we're looking at about 13 degrees of forward lean and 5 degrees of ramp angle. And that's really where we can finish up summarizing this Recon boot. Now, it is one that just is sort of no nonsense, but also has a lot of options. So with the options, you get 2 different lasts, you get 2 different closure systems available, a bunch of different flexes. So it's a boot that's very easy to fit. Now, whether you go on your traditional 4-buckle version or this new BOA cable system, that will only affect a little bit on how this boot feels overall. But it skis really well. You can fit quite a lot of feet into this. A lot of people will step into the Recon right away and be super happy skiing in this thing all day. So if I was to talk any negatives on it at all, I'd just say I wish there was a little bit more focus on getting a better heel grab out of this boot. And we look at this boot stock, especially in this medium fit, I feel like it lacks a little bit of security in the back. So whether that can be tackled by making some modifications to the liner, perhaps K2 could maybe look to shrink up the heel pocket in the shell. But that's pretty minimal. There's only one thing that I could pick apart on it. The rest of it is just a great execution. It's pieced together well. It's going to be very suitable for a lot of people skiing. So I have to give this one a pretty solid score on my Stoke meter. So I'm going to raise it all the way up and give the K2 Recon a 9. Thanks guys. I'll catch you in the next review.